Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got another mock draft video to help you guys with your upcoming redrafts that are going to happen probably very, very soon. Training camps are heavy going on, and of course the Hall of Fame game is getting ready to start, so football is here, so let's jump into it. All right, so as you guys can see here, I'm at the 105 spot of a 12-team league, full PPR. Now, of course, if there are other types of formats you would love to see, whether it be Superflex, tight end premium, different things like that, maybe different league sizes, let me know in the comments down below. I will get to you as soon as I can to get those mock drafts out there. Now, again, football season is here. I'll give you some insights of why I'm going after certain players and kind of give you some insights of what the computer model is starting to do and some changes that are happening. So let's jump into this draft and get going. So at the 105 spot, I'm probably going to aim towards, again, running back. I love the running back position in the first round. And realistically, in the second round, if there's a good person there, honestly, the second round around this spot, it's probably going to be a wide receiver. Now, looking at the options here, you got Chase off the board at 101. Not surprising. He was the #1 player last year in fantasy. And then, of course, you see some of the running backs like Barkley and Bijan. So really good options there. Now, looking at this, I've got players like CeeDee Lamb, Puka, Neighbors, some really good options. But again, I'm going to go running back if I can. And so Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be my first option. Some people aren't as high, and I get it because obviously David Montgomery's coming back, which means Gibbs won't have as many opportunities. But I think even with the OC changes, Gibbs is still going to be a really viable option in fantasy. 105 could be somewhat of a stretch. Now, I'll drop a video of where players should fall in the first round roughly because I think Gibbs is more of a 1.7 to 1.8 range, but I didn't want to miss out of a running back, and I think he's still a RB1 type of potential. Now, I was hoping Achane would drop here because I think Achane is a great option as my second running back. Again, if I can, I'm going to go 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds and then get my wide receiver. Now, if there's a really amazing wide receiver in this spot, then you want to go and grab them, right? You got players like A.J. Brown, who's a great option. I love Drake London. I think he'd be actually a top wide receiver this year, maybe in top 5. I know that's a little bit of a stretch, but I love this option here. But looking at this, Christian McCaffrey and Josh Jacobs, I'm going to go on the safer side and grab Josh Jacobs here. Christian McCaffrey's tempting. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty with that offense. You got both wide receivers hurt. You're not really sure how this offense is going to play out with Christian McCaffrey. Are they going to use him a lot? Not really sure, so I'm going to hold off just a bit. Now, it's interesting if you see the model here. You got 2 teams that win full wide receiver or full running back. You may have some league mates like that, and some of those league mates probably use those players as maybe trade bait later on in the season or just getting their flexes filled. And again, depending on your league, that will be a good way to go. Now, me, I've got my 2 running backs, so I've got to go wide receiver here. I could get a running back like Jonathan Taylor in the 3rd round, which is a steal to me. Even Chase Brown is a good option here. But looking at wide receivers, I've got to get somebody in here, and I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is a great option. He's in a good offense. Obviously, you got Sam Darnold. We'll see how that plays out because we're not really sure. But I think Smith-Njigba's talent is going to oversee that and make that a lot easier. And I'm glad I was able to get Garrett Wilson here. I was hoping he would squeak to me because I think Garrett Wilson is in a perfect position to be a top 15 wide receiver. I think he'd be almost a low wide receiver 1, high wide receiver 2, especially reuniting with his college quarterback in Justin Fields. I know Justin Fields hurt his toe, but I really like that option here. Now, at this point, you've got your first 4 rounds done, right? And in my case, I got both my running backs, both my wide receivers. Now, a couple things you got to think about. Bye weeks, you got to think about, maybe schedule if you're really deep into it, like what that schedule looks like. But me, I'm going to obviously fill out really premier positions, which is going to be running back. So looking at the running back option, I'm going to go grab Kenneth Walker here as my backup / flex. Really good option there. And unfortunately, he does have the same bye week as Jahmyr Gibbs, so that is a little bit of a concern when I deal with that later on. But until then, I am in a good position to have a solid flex player. And again, looking at your premier players, I can get a David Montgomery to back up Jahmyr Gibbs. I've seen a lot of handcuff in that position. Maybe you want to go quarterback because you see obviously the top quarterbacks are starting to go. I'm not big on grabbing a quarterback super early because there are some really good options that are falling later and later in the draft. So I'm going to hold off into that. I am actually going to go and grab a wide receiver here. I'm going to go grab Zay Flowers. I think he's in a really good position to be a super wide receiver 2 in a super flex. or excuse me, as my flex option, maybe wide receiver 2 to fill in bye weeks. I'm also considering Tetora McMillan, who I think is in a good spot. If he can fall to me in the 7th round, I'll be super excited, but I'm going to go Zay Flowers here. McMillan is a good option too, because I think McMillan is going to surprise a lot of people coming into this season. I know some people are hesitant with rookie wide receivers. I am not. I will grab him every single time. Now, he did fall right before me, which kind of sucks because I would love to have gotten him because I think he's in a good spot to be a premier wide receiver out of, again, my 4th spot. I'll take that. Now, looking at this is where it's interesting. You got Jalen Waddle. We'll see how that plays out. He's got talent. It's just been kind of up and down. Travion Anderson is an interesting one. I'm not really sure if I super love this spot for him. I think he's more of a 9th round just because I'm not sure how they're going to use Ramondre Stevenson, even though this is obviously a new regime and they wanted Henderson. Sometimes that plays a factor. You still got old heads like Aaron Jones, right? Really reliable, good running back. You got players like Jordan Addison in that same Vikings team. Really good options here. This is actually where some of the best players are to pick because a lot of people aren't sure how they're going to play out, like Chris Olave with their quarterback situation. But I might take a little bit of a risk, and I'm going to grab Travis Hunter here. Now, depending on your scoring situation in your league, if he can be played as both wide receiver and defensive back, Travis Hunter might move up in a lot of drafts for you, especially if you're in IDP leagues because of his ability to play both sides. But for me right now, again, it's more of a traditional wide receiver because of the way this league is set up. I still think he's going to have some potential, especially alongside Brian Thomas Jr. and, of course, Trevor Lawrence throwing his way. All right, I love where I'm at right now. I've got a great core of wide receivers. I've got some great running backs. I will continue to work on that running back aspect, and then, again, working on the tight ends. Now, tight end right here, you've got Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews. I think he can squeak in one more round and get them into the 9th. So looking at the 8th round pick, looking at this, I've got players like Tyrone Tracy. We'll see how he plays out with Scatabo there. I love Caleb Johnson coming out into Pittsburgh. Not sure how they're going to use both him and Warren. And then you got Pollard, who's also sharing time with Spears. Now, of these options, Pollard's probably your safest bet here because he has have a little bit of establishment. They're going to use both, running backs. They're going to have to help Cam Ward. So I can see Pollard still being utilized quite often. So tight end went Travis Kelce. Now I've got another tight end I've got to consider. So looking at the options, Mark Andrews is a safe bet. I know a lot of people are kind of upset with how he's played out. Likely is obviously coming up, and he's in his last year of his contract, so that might scare some people off from Mark Andrews. I love Evan Ingram in this particular spot. I think Evan Ingram is in a great spot for the Denver Broncos, and I think Bo Nix is going to connect with him really well. Obviously, he was hurt last season, so there again, people some nerves there. But I'm going to go Evan Ingram here and get my first tight end off the board because I think he is in a good spot. I love this offense for him. Sean Payton loves the tight end position, if you remember him with Jimmy Graham. Evan Ingram's not as, I would say, athletic as Jimmy Graham, but they're both very similar as far as some big playmakers down the field. So Evan Ingram's a good spot there. Now I've got quarterback, kicker, defense, and then two bench players here. Now looking at the quarterback position, you've got players like Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Purdy, Caleb Williams. I mean, some really good options. I still think I can hold off a little bit. So I want to build depth, right? You've got Tyler Warren, the rookie tight end. Good option. Maybe I want to get Scattergo. Maybe he ends up being the running back for the New York Giants. You got Pearsall, Javonte Williams, who might be the RB1 for Dallas. So really good options here. I'm actually going to go and take the risk here in Matthew Golden and the rookie coming out into the Green Bay Packers. I really think they love him. They think he can actually be a star for them. So I don't mind taking a little bit of risk because I'm not necessarily relying on him. He could be a nice little sleeper for me coming into the season. Now, I've got to really start looking at the quarterback position because obviously I've got that and then kicker and defense. Again, I can get a quarterback later on. You got the potential of a rushing quarterback like Kyler Murray. You've got Justin Herbert, who got some new weapons, and Trey Harris, for example. But I'm going to hold off just because I still think I can get a quarterback later on. For me, I'm going to get Ramondre Stevenson just because I want to get another running back who is, considered a running back one for his team. I'm not really sure how that split is going to be, if it's 60-40, 50-50. I don't know. But I think Stevenson is in a good spot to get him late. I didn't use a lot of draft capital. Happy with that there. Now I'm going to get my quarterback here. Now, looking at the quarterback options, I'm going to go safe with Dak Prescott. I know people are going to probably call me a homer for that one. I get it. But if he's healthy, offensive line's healthy, you got Pickens, Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb, there's no reason not to, because when he is healthy, he was a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and I will take that every single time. Now I've got to get my defensive kickers. Now kickers are very important, so you want to grab a kicker really on a team that's in a high-powered offense that has the potential to go down the field. Obviously, maybe some missed opportunities, but an offense that's going to score. So looking at that, I'm going to get Tyler Bass for the Buffalo Bills. Bills, yes, they don't have a lot of great weapons, but Buffalo does seem to get down the field pretty often. And they may have some stall drives, which allows you to have opportunities to get some kicks. So I love that. And then defense, you can obviously play defenses throughout the year, dropping them, picking them up, whatever. If they're obviously defensive players, that's going to be a different avenue. But looking at the options here, I love the Commanders. I think the great defense that has potential. I like the Seahawks and Jets. Jets are obviously a really solid defense. I'll go the Commanders here because I like that defense. Even though I don't like them as a team, but I'll take them there. So that is my draft for the 105 spot, and let's kind of talk about it. All right, so that is my draft for the 105 spot. If you guys have questions, maybe you thought that draft went really well, maybe you didn't, or maybe you have questions for your own type of draft that is going on, maybe you're doing some mocks as well, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to help you guys out. Hopefully this gave you some insight of what's going on in some of these drafts. Maybe there's some players you're starting to see fall. Maybe some players are starting to rise. Again, let me know. I'd love to help you guys out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, make sure you check out all the mock draft videos and of course other dynasty content I've got going on, and I'll check you guys out next time.